Welcome to Alpha Recaps. Today we'll be explain a horror film from 2020 titled The Maid. Spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, a former maid of a family tells her therapist that she sees a ghost very often in the house. Only kid in the house is Ned and she mates for that little girl. According to Maid, Ned has a toy monkey and when Ned falls asleep, the monkey becomes alive and moves around in the house and makes noises. She was too much afraid of this torment that she quits the job. She also tells the therapist that there is also a spirit of a girl can be seen in the house. She assumes that the spirit she sees is of the house's other maid and only she and the little girl Ned can see the spirit. Uma is Ned's mom and she is the one who runs everything in the house. She promises Ned to find a new maid. Uma's husband and Ned's father is a wealthy businessman named Narek. Uma and Narek's relationship is not good, but they are together only because of Ned and Uma's father. Just like the maid told her therapist then can see the spirit. However, Uma and Narek assume that Ned is just delusional. Ned's physician diagnoses her with dementia and both are worried for her. In the nighttime, Uma sneaks into Narek's workplace. It seems as although she is looking for something while she finds some photographs hidden in a book. The very next day a new maid Joy arrives and she is welcomed by the head of the maids. While Juan shows her around the house to make Joy familiar with it, she also tells her about her duties and the rules of the house. Juan also introduces Joy to Ned. Joy tries to talk with Ned but she doesn't speak a word. Juan explained that she is a shy kid and she doesn't talk much and loves to draw and she has never been out of this house. In the end, Juan tells Joy to always mind her own business if she wants to work in this house. Then the driver Chai takes Joy to her quarters. It is a beautiful home with plenty of rooms just beside the mansion. Joy is glad to get an entire house to herself. When Chai leaves, she begins unpacking her bags. It is now nighttime. Her new maid uniform is kept on the mattress. She is fascinated by it, so she poses with it in the front of the mirrors. Suddenly she notices someone running upstairs. She takes a candle stand and follows the footsteps upstairs. She sees someone stand at the end of the stairs. Joy is too scared to get there, so she goes again to her room. While lying on her mattress, she thinks about her old bosses. She used to work at a foreign family's residence as their maid. Her boss used to look at her with lustful eyes. That nighttime, Joy dreams of someone standing at her door and wakes up terrified. First day at work before she starts working, Wen takes her to Uma, who asks her about her old job. Joy answers she left it due to the fact the family left for their country after selling their house and land. Joy's primary job is to take care of Ned. After that, she also has to help other maids in their job. That day, Joy puts Ned to sleep by a song her sister used to sing to her. As Joy is about to leave the room, she senses someone standing in the corner, but as she turns around she sees no one. Joy runs into Narak while taking out laundry. He asks her name but doesn't say anything when she told her name. Joy meets the other housemaid Porn in the kitchen. The three maids work together as Porn plays music in full volume. Later at night, Ned in her bathtub playing with bubbles. Suddenly she stares at someone behind Joy at the door. Joy checks but no one is there, but when she stands up she sees someone standing behind her through the mirrors. Joy is startled, however she is not scared. The girls get out of the bath. Joy asks it if she also noticed the person in the mirror. Ned nods. She then asks Joy to read her a bedtime story. Agreeing, Joy searches for a book and finds the one her sister used to study to her. After Ned falls asleep, Joy leaves. However, just as she sleeps, Ned wakes up and sits on her bed. She comes face to face with a ghost. The next day, Joy went in the house library with an excuse to clean it. There she finds a photo of Uma, Narek and some other maid. Joy notices the ghost standing in a nook looking her. She realizes that the ghost is of the maid in the photo. Terrified, Joy runs away but stops when she sees Ned standing at the entrance. The ghost pulls Ned inside and locks the door. As Joy looks through the glass door to try to help Ned, she appears behind her but the ghost is still inside. Scared, Joy takes Ned along with her and ran away from there. The little girl tell the whole thing they'd witnessed to Uma. However, she dismisses their concerns and does not take them seriously. Joy showed Uma the picture she had found earlier and tells her that the ghost seemed exactly just like the maid. Uma simply asks her how she found the image but doesn't acknowledge the ghost. Joy tells her she located it while cleaning the library and leaves. When everybody is gone, Uma stares on the maid in the photo. She begins reminiscing about her. The maid's name is Ploy. She got here to their house nearly 6 years ago. Narek used to ignore Uma and they constantly fought and Uma had no friend to talk to. She became very lonely while she began getting to know Ploy. Soon she began to share everything with her. Their friendship grew with time and Uma have become very affectionate with Ploy. At some point when Narek stayed out for work, Uma and Ploy had sex. Uma stares at the image of her former best buddy. From the following day, Joy begins inquiring with Juan and Porn about Ploy. Juan dismisses her and tells her to mind her own business. However, Porn tells her that Ploy used to work there for a year. She disappeared someday and never returned. Joy is still not satisfied with the answer, so she She asks the driver Chai. Chai seems to get fearful while she brings Ploy's name, however he reveals a bit more facts about her than the maids. He tells her that Ploy used to be Uma's best friend but she disappeared one day and never returned. Later that day Uma looks at Ned's drawings and scolds her. Joy hears this while Uma leaves. Joy looks at them and notices that most of Ned's drawings have 3 people in them. She asks Ned who they may be. She answers that the ones are Uma, Narek and the maid. Joy realizes that Ned is talking about Ploy. She is amazed. Some day later Narek sits down and stares at one of Ploy's photos. He begins thinking about his days with her. He recalls while she always used to come into his office to provide him tea. It was clear that Narek became interested in her. At some point she came in and requested him for a book. He stood at the back of her as she picked one from the shelf. Ploy was attracted to him too. One thing ends in another and they turn out to be having sex in his office. Both Uma and Norak had sexual relations with their maid. That night time as Joy is putting Nid to sleep she asks her where Ploy is. Just then her ghost appears behind Joy. However this time instead of scaring her Ploy leads Joy to different parts of the house to inform her the story of her death. First she has brought her in Narek's office where Ploy tells Narek that she is pregnant with his child. Nareka is happy and hugs her. Subsequent she is led to the dining place in which Uma and Narek speak about the problem. Uma does not seem to mind that Ploy was impregnated by Narek. Then she sees Narek looking after pregnant Ploy. Eventually Ploy gives delivery to a lovely daughter. She sings to her newborn. Just then the realization hits Joy that Ned is really Ploy's daughter. Joy then sees Ploy visit the restroom to prepare a bath. While she does that Ned begins to cry. Ploy tries to run but slips on the floor and hits her head. Nobody comes for her help while Uma sees her lying there. However she closes the door to let her die there. After Ploy dies Narek finds her. They decide not to inform anyone about the incident. Chai, Vorn and Wan help Narek wrap her body in plastic and took Ploy outside the residence. But as they may be digging Ploy starts to move. She is still alive, however nobody notices. Joy screams at them to save her. But finally they bury her alive. Joy realizes that the entire house is crammed with liars. Suddenly Joy starts singing a familiar song. Ploy's ghost comes behind her and starts singing it together with her. So we get to realize that Ploy is Joy's elder sister. She left home to work years ago but in no way came back. Reduced to a few weeks earlier Joy is with her therapist talking about her job. She tells her that she has recently been appointed by a family and they moved back to their country. But in truth she had killed the preceding family she labored for. Turns out that Joy is a psychopath who has come to discover what occurred to her sister. Now that she knows who killed her she plans to avenge them. Uma's birthday is in a few days. Every person at the house prepares for a big celebration on her birthday. They get ready for the night. Just then Joy prepares an injection. Sometime later the visitors begin coming. Joy and Chai are in a car outside. She asks him about Ploy again to test if he says the fact but he doesn't. She suffocates him to death with a plastic bag. Next she is going into the kitchen where Born is working and asks her what she knows about Ploy. In the meantime at the birthday celebration Uma orders Wan to fetch wine. Inside the kitchen however Porn wakes up tied to a chair. Joy notices it and tells her that she knows they helped Uma and Narek to get rid of Ploy's body. Joy drugs the wine to be served to the visitors. Wine goes to see Chai and finds out he is dead. She panics. However before she will inform anyone Joy arrives on the scene and injects her with a drug to kill her. Joy then goes to the celebration and serves the drugged wine to all of the visitors. Joy is going again to the kitchen and apologizes to a tied Born for being late. Joy's psychopathic aspect starts to expose as she dances to the tune. She is wearing a raincoat at the same time as dancing. Suddenly she stabs Porn on her neck with a kitchen knife. Blood splatters throughout Joy's face. She then cleans it up. Meanwhile at the birthday celebration Narek leaves for his office upstairs. Uma asks Joy to take care of the guests and goes to her room. Joy then goes in Ned's room and makes her listen to track with her headphones so she does not hear what is happening. Downstairs at the birthday party all of the guests start to sense sick due to the drugged wine. Now it's time for Joy to execute her killing spree. She goes across the birthday celebration and stabs all people she can get her hand on. It is as if a demon has taken into her. After everybody on the birthday party is killed Joy moves upstairs to kill the real culprit. Uma sits in the front of her mirror. She has observed the letters Joy wrote to Ploy while she still worked there. Uma accuses her of creating up false tales to trick them into speaking about her sister. She then lies and tells her that Ploy disappeared. All of a sudden this agitates Joy. Uma has consumed drugged wine as well. She gets dizzy after taking a sip of it. However even in that condition Uma leaps at Joy to kill her but Joy stabs her to death instead. As Uma is at the verge of death Ploy's spirit lies beside her on the ground. Joy's final goal is Narek. He takes the last sip of alcohol which Joy has drugged and starts getting dizzy. He sees Ploy's ghost walking. He follows her downstairs. The visitor dead bodies lie all around. However he barely recognizes them. Passing Observing the bodies, he goes out the main entrance. Everything outside is on fire. He sees Ploy walking toward and stabs him. Just then he looks up and sees it is really Joy who has stabbed him. As he lays on the floor dying, Ploy's spirit lies beside him. Subsequently, Joy brings Ned downstairs. She plans to begin a brand new life with her niece. In the ends we see Joy break down into tears in the front of the house. Please subscribe and turn on notifications.